Okay, so if you search, it looks exactly like Excel, it's green in color, but it has the word T, and it's Microsoft Project. So before I continue, I want to say something. I asked your lecturer, how do the students get access to Microsoft Project? I said, come to the class, use the lab. Okay, so press. Then they said, the other way you can get it is you buy it and you can install on your own notebook. So I leave it to you, okay? But you will need to use Microsoft Project as part of your assignment. So, yes.
But it's just a part, right? It's not every phases we need to use this one.
No, of course not.
But
you know you have to either do it in class or take the trouble to come and find a free PC to do it.
No need buy. I said no need buy.
You say,
Then buy okay. Then no need buy.
So we got 15 minutes, so let's go through this together. You can use your own Microsoft project. You just have to follow me. Okay, open a new blank project. And the first thing you see on your left are all the tasks. Because project management is about managing things to do, right? So they are called tasks in Microsoft projects. So that's on the left side of your screen. On the right side of the screen, you will see your chart. It's a Gantt chart. Most of you know what Gantt chart is, right? So you will see it if you don't. Okay. So one of the first things you do is you want to set up the project by specifying when is your project starting. I mean, that's very important, right? You need to know when it starts, right? So you click project and you click project information. And the first thing you want to do is specify what your start date is. So in my case, let's say you can put any date in the future. I'm going to say July 1st. It's going to start in 5-6 days time. Okay, and say okay. Okay. So everybody okay there? Okay, let's start building a software project plan. And I'm going to do the simpler one, which is waterfall. I'm going to use waterfall. Okay. And waterfall very straightforward, as you guys know. So first thing I have to do is okay, so these are the steps I'm thinking about to build my project, to do my project. Gather user requirements. Okay. That's the first thing I want to do. These are the high level tasks. Okay. I haven't put in the details yet. Okay. So gather user requirements. Next thing I want to do is I want to do my analysis and design. Now where I have to design my database model, my UML models, after I understand my user requirements. Then the next thing I want to do is build or code. Okay, I just call it build. It's coding like you guys know, right? Then next thing I want to do is test. And finally, once it's all tested and the user has accepted, I want to go live. Very standard, right? This one. These are the processes we all go through as we try to build the software. So that's one of the things we do. So if you look at it, these are all very high level. Let's try to fill in the details for one of these major tasks. Let's do gather user requirements. I think that's the time we have for. So the way to insert a sub-task is to right mouse click in between those two and do an insert task. So if you do insert task, between 1 and 2, it will generate something called, it's just a default value of new task. So let me start entering all the under gather user requirements, what are the sub-tasks, okay? You can follow along, or you can watch, so up to you, right? So the first thing I want to do is, I think I have to schedule all my user interviews, right? See when they are free and book their time first. So that's one of the first things I want to do. The next thing after I get their interviews, I have to conduct the interviews. So that's the other major thing I have to do. Next thing I want to do after I conduct the interviews, I probably have to start documenting what I understood right from the interview. So I need to do some documentation to capture, just documentation. I thought like it's to write down what you found out after you spoke to the users. Then after I do my documentation, I might find out that some of the things I'm not very clear. Even the user told me I'm not very clear, so I need to go and meet the user again and clarify. So maybe I'll set up another task called clarification interviews with the users. So that's very quickly, we have put the sub-task for gather user requirements, but it's not very obvious, right? Because it looks exactly the same. So to indent it and to make it a real sub-task of gather user requirements, you go to task here, and you select the sub-task. So I'm going to select the 4 sub-tasks. It's a lot like Excel, okay? So the way it works, okay? But of course it's not Excel. So select the 4 sub-tasks, and you see this little icon here, it will say indent task. And when you click on that, all the 4 tasks here will be part of gather user requirements. Everybody got it? So quite straightforward lah. Gather user requirements. So you've done that already. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to put in the duration. How long will it take to schedule user interviews? When do I start? When do I finish? But if you have many subtasks, it's going to take a lot of work to fill it out, right? So thankfully, Microsoft Project has a feature called Auto Schedule. So you select that, and you click Auto Schedule, and automatically it fills up by default 1 day. And you notice it starts all on 1st July because that's when we said the project will start, right? So by default, it does that. And you see the Gantt chart has been populated on Tuesday, the end of June. Actually, you can't see, but it starts on July here. I think if I go in detail by clicking the plus sign here, you probably can see a bit more clearly. Yeah, but it's too small this screen, so I'm not going to do that. But okay, but essentially it's starting on 1st of July. Make it bigger again. Okay, so you can see that. But let me ask you, whose job is it to gather user requirements? Which job role? Is it software engineers? No, who? Software requirement analyst. Very good. Close, but the official, most of the common job title is a business analyst. So your friends who are taking the information systems degree, they are typically the ones who become business analysts and will do this job. And let's say this particular gather user requirements, you only have one business analyst. Can he do all 4 of these concurrently on the same time? No. How is he going to split himself into 4, do schedule user interviews, conduct interviews, document, verify interviews? He can't, right? He can't do it all at the same time. And because he can't do it all at the same time, he has to do it sequentially because you only have one business analyst. If you have 2 business analysts, then yeah, you can. Okay, you can put in 2 business analysts, and we'll show that later. So to automatically schedule it so it happens one after another, make sure you've selected all these tasks again. So if you haven't selected, select all these tasks again, and go to the icon which shows under tasks, which shows link the selected task. So when you click on that, you realize it will automatically schedule it one after another. So if I click on that, you notice all the activities, all the tasks happens one after another. So they do this automatically. So you don't have to manually go and type in and try to get it to adjust, start on the right day, finish on the right day. All this happens. Actually, before I do this, let's backtrack a bit. Can you undo? Because I think I need to show you the other thing first. Undo so that it doesn't do the auto linking. Okay. Let's change the duration first. Then you will see a bit more impact. Schedule interviews. Let's say I can put 2 days. Okay. So you can put 2 days, and you notice the Gantt chart on your right expands to Tuesday and Wednesday, right? So there are a couple of other things you can do besides 2 days. You can say 2 weeks. It goes longer. Okay. You can say 2 months, and it goes really long. You can't see it on the far right. Okay. But I want to tell you that in project management, especially for software projects, most of the scheduling is by days. So stick to days. So let's key in again and say 2 days. Conduct interviews. Wow, one business analyst, maybe I got to interview 10 users. So maybe I keep 5 days for that. I've been quite busy, right? Okay, 5 days. And documentation, I think I will need at least 2 days. Let's schedule 2 days first. And clarification interviews, just to be safe, I put 2 days as well, in case I got to do that. And once you've done that, you notice the Gantt chart changes. Let me put documentation 3 days so you can see a difference in the Gantt chart. Okay, so then what you do is you select all 4 of the subtasks, and now we do the linking of the selected tasks to go one after another. And now you can see very clearly, you make your left window smaller, and let's zoom out a bit. You can see all the subtasks scheduled. We haven't done one thing yet. We haven't put resources, which is the business analyst. Okay, so later on we'll do that, but I think for first class, I think this should be enough. You can assign resources to tasks, and resources can come with a cost, right? A business analyst, you have to pay the business analyst, right? It's not free resource, right? So when you put a cost to a business analyst or a software engineer as a resource to a task, it can calculate, oh, how much is your whole project going to cost, right? Because now it knows if I want one business analyst and the business analyst costs $50 an hour and he has to work 8 hours a day and I need it for 20 days, let's say, you know how much it will cost already. Microsoft Project will calculate it for you automatically. So that's the beauty of this software. It can calculate cost for you as well. Okay, so let's go back to this example. I want to show you a few more things. We have 5 minutes left, but I think it's important. Do you see this column called predecessors? Okay, so predecessors by definition means what comes before it, right? So in this case, the task. So if you see here, conduct interviews, task number 3. See, the item here is called number 3, right? Task interview. The predecessor is task number 2. Why? Because task number 2 is scheduled user interviews, right? See, scheduled interviews, user interviews comes before conduct interviews, so it's a predecessor. Okay. You can also put in a successor column. So the way to do that, let me show you, is let's say I want to put successor between predecessor and resource name. All you need to do is right mouse click on the resource name and insert column. And unlike Excel, where you can insert and give the column your own name, in Microsoft Project you can't. You have to select from a list of available columns. Okay? And there are hundreds of available things you can choose from. What you have to do is, since I know it's successor, I just type SUCC, automatically I get successors. And it automatically populates the predecessor and the successor. Okay, why am I talking about, why is it important to know the predecessor and successor? Let me give you a good reason. Let me make it smaller. So this column is predecessor, this column is successor, right? You can see, right? Okay, so let me tell you a few things that you will notice. You notice that the first task never has any predecessor, correct? Because it's the first task, right? There's nothing before it. And the last task does not have any successor. See that? But the task in the middle, in between the start and the last task, always has predecessor and successor. Right? So the point I want to make is, as you start building your project plan, because there will be a lot more subtasks under analysis, build, test, and code, right? You need to have a look at predecessor and successor, and you need to focus, you need to make sure that the first task does not have any predecessor, and the last task, which is probably under go live here somewhere at the bottom, does not have any successor. And in between, all the subtasks must have a predecessor and successor. Must have. Otherwise, Microsoft Project will be a bit screwed up when you try to calculate the time of when your project will finish and the cost of when your project will finish. The time especially. So make sure all the tasks in between always has a predecessor and a successor, and they will have a link from one task to another task. Because that's how project management works. You finish one, you have to do another one. So that's one important point. The other important thing I wanted to introduce you is this term called WBS, which stands for Work Breakdown. You'll learn this in your class soon enough in your lecture. Structure. Like a lot of things in IT, and in this case project management, they have a lot of fancy terms, but it's actually something very simple. Work breakdown structure. Yes. A work breakdown structure is the way in project management to organize and put a hierarchy to your tasks. That's all it is. Okay? So think about this way, and then give it a numbering. So that's the third part of it. So think of it this way. This is your major task, this is your subtask, correct? This is your major task, this is all your major tasks because I haven't put in any subtasks of all these major tasks, right? So when I put in a work breakdown structure, all it does is it organizes the hierarchy and gives it a number. Okay? And you will need to do this for your project planning as well when you start building your project. So what you have to do is go to the first column. I always like to put it in the first column. Insert a column and look for WBS, and there's one, the first one. So when you include the WBS, you notice it automatically does the numbering for you. That's all it is. Okay? But it helps you think in terms of, for a project, I always have major tasks and then I have subtasks. Okay? And this helps you very easily organize it. And you notice once you put in WBS, if let's say you have another new task between 1.3 and 1.4, and you insert a new task, automatically what was previously 1.4 clarification interviews now becomes 1.5. Okay. And I think that's all you need to know at this point in time about Microsoft Project. It's very easy to use, a lot like Excel, but it's not Excel. It's more of a database system because it keeps track of a lot of things and a lot of relationships between items, right? More like a database. Okay. Later on, we will learn about resource. So resource are things that you assign to tasks to complete the task. So a typical resource will be people, right? And people have costs associated with it. If you want 4 software developers versus 20 software developers, the cost is different, right? So when you assign the cost to, when you come to the build, you assign the cost to software developers, your project will get more and more expensive. And as a project manager, your role is, and we'll talk about this in tutorial, right? You have to manage the project. You must make sure that the scope of the project is met. You must make sure that you complete your project on time. And you must make sure the budget that you allocated to complete the project is kept within budget and doesn't go over budget. So that's what makes a good project manager. And we'll talk about it at our next class at 1 o'clock, right? Yeah. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you. So does this give inspiration for those who don't like coding and want to be project managers? Not yet, you'll find out more.